welcome to Making Tracks, which this week comes from the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, whose 18-mile line runs through some impressive scenery.
An equally impressive fleet of locomotives is at hand to haul the many trains throughout the season. More about that later. But first of all, off to what was Eastern Germany, where working steam can still be found, but only on narrow gauge lines. There are several steam-operated narrow gauge systems all within the area that was once East Germany. One of these lines runs from Kramzahl to the ski resort of Kurort Oberwiesenthal. On the way to the southern terminus, the line runs along the border with Czechoslovakia, which can be seen on the far side of the train. There's also a freight-only line operated by the unusual and fascinating Saxon-Myers. These elderly locos, with their curious wheel arrangement, hauling standard-gauge wagons on narrow-gauge trolleys, present an interesting sight as they make their way between Mugeln and Oschatz. The most famous and by far the largest narrow gauge system is the network of lines running through the Harz Mountains. Threats of closure of part of this system and dieselization of the remainder have been a major talking point amongst many enthusiasts. Passing through some of the finest scenery in Eastern Germany, its potential as a major tourist attraction has long been recognized, especially as this part of the world is now freely accessible. However, the diesel presence increases with every year, and it's hoped that should part or all of the line eventually close to regular traffic, it'll be possible to keep steam running on a preserved basis.
It's time now for our regular weekly look at some recent steam haul excursions, working on the main line of British Rail. Stratford-on-Avon is a busy centre for steam traffic, as it's the terminus for many excursions from London, normally under the guise of the William Shakespeare Express. It's therefore not uncommon for the peace of the Warwickshire countryside to be broken by the sound of steam locos such as Britannia, seen here speeding through Warwick in appalling weather conditions. On the 9th of May 1993, it was the turn of three-cylinder Pacific Duke of Gloucester. During its famous restoration programme, deficiencies in construction were uncovered and rectified in the course of rebuilding. The result is a superb machine, efficient and free-steaming. Unfortunately, this was certainly not the case on the 9th of May, and the Duke was obviously in trouble as it neared Stratford. Apparently, a bad batch of coal leading to choking of the fire was the reason for the problem. The Duke failed to appear for the return leg. It was replaced by a Class 47 diesel. Steam loco failures are inevitable from time to time. The fact that they're not more common is a testimony to the skill and dedication of the volunteers who help to keep them running. It's time for tea now, and what better place to have it than this wonderful director's dining car here on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway.
Thank you.
The line has all the ingredients necessary for a major tourist attraction. 18 miles of track running through some magnificent scenery and a large and comprehensive selection of locomotives available to pull the trains. A variety of types of engine are to be found, including ex-Great Western Railway 062 tank number 6619 and Schools Class Repton from the Southern Railway. One of the many large standard tanks preserved in Britain can also be seen as well as one of the massive War Department austerity locomotives. Despite all its attributes, there are still some problems to be faced on the line. The main operational difficulty is of a geographical nature.
The problem we have is that 2/3 of our passengers come from Pickering, and we take them really from somewhere to nowhere. We decant something like 150 passengers per hour, 200 per hour in August, into Gromont, and really there's nothing for people to do here, which is the problem. Whereas 7 miles away lies the seaside at Whitby, and 7 miles away is BR's track. So obviously an ideal opportunity for us would be to be able to extend our services from Gromont into Whitby.
As always, the volunteer workforce provides invaluable help in all operational aspects of the railway.
You're the Reverend Canon Gerald Pearce, retired.
That's right, yes.
What's your involvement with the North Yorkshire Moors Railway?
Well, I'm now a signalman on the line,
I have been a member of the railway since its inception in 1967, but till we came and moved up this way, which we did 2.5 years ago, I didn't do anything practical. When we did, I volunteered and found myself in that job now.
But obviously you had to learn how to be a signalman. Do they have the training here?
Yes, they do. Yes, we did the training, the basic training that lasts about 6 months. You then pass out, hopefully, from that, and then you're appointed to one or other of the signal boxes, each of which you've got to pass out in also, because each one is individual in its own working.
Do you have any desire to be a driver?
No, strangely, no. I enjoy signalling very much indeed. But the more physical side of driving didn't appeal to me, I'm afraid, if I'm quite honest about it.
Locomotives hard at work are one of the many attractions for visitors and enthusiasts who come to the railway in their thousands each year. If the railway were to extend to Whitby in due course, it would certainly become one of the most popular as well as one of the longest lines in the country. As the 20th century is now well in its final decade, it's perhaps surprising to realize how many countries still use steam locomotives as part of their system. One such place is Ecuador, where the line linking the two major cities is in many ways remarkable.
Perhaps the most remarkable thing about the Guayaquil and Quito Railway is that it exists at all. Elderly Baldwin steam locomotives work a line whose financial situation can only be described as disastrous. Despite the lack of cash and resources, there's no shortage of manpower, and somehow a few locos at a time are kept in working order. The western terminus is at Duran in the suburbs of Guayaquil. And for the first 80 kilometers, the line runs through flat countryside with tropical vegetation. One of the towns along this section is Milagro, and on market days there's no shortage of atmosphere as the trains do battle with the street traders. Bouquet marks the end of the flat section, and it's here that the trains change locos for the long climb into the formidable mountain ranges that form part of the Andes. One branch line exists off the main route from Guayaquil to Quito, that from Zimbabwe to Cuenca via Azogues. It was near Azogues that we caught up with the Sundays only service, typically well patronised. This area has a large rural population, for although on the equator the high altitude provides a climate similar to perpetual spring. We followed the train's progress as it lurched and swayed steadily on its way. The only surprise is that derailments are not more common. When derailments do occur, they're treated here as a slight inconvenience rather than a major problem. However, many derailments are not so quickly remedied as this one. Without doubt, the most famous and spectacular section of the line is that which negotiates the Devil's Nose, a huge rock outcrop set in a valley which presented a massive natural obstacle in the construction of the line. The problem was overcome by cutting a reverse of 5.5% gradient out of the solid rock, allowing the line to traverse one side of the Devil's Nose and continue up the valley to Aleusi, some 11 kilometers away. Incredibly enough, despite the railway's bleak prospects of ever becoming a viable proposition, money continues to be invested in modernisation and improvements to the line. New track work is being laid, and a French government loan has provided the finance for a fleet of 20 new diesels. In the workshops, the bogies were in place for the second loco, and the completion of the order could mean the end of steam in Ecuador. However, nothing is certain in South America, and steam only survives today due to the limited success of the first generation of diesels. It may still be possible to see steam working for some time to come on what is without doubt one of the world's great lines. Well, that's about it for this week. In our next programme, which comes from the Bluebell Railway, we journey to Poland to visit a rare mountainous section of PKP, as well as a look around the Olesnica works, which still overhaul steam locomotives.
We'll be also going to the tip of South America to visit the world's most southerly railway, and it is 100% steam operated. So until next week, goodbye.
Goodbye.